All right, it is a little after 8:30, and I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation for October. Before we get started, I would like to ask Mr. John Barrio to lead us in a word of prayer.
If you would bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, we are here today to conduct the business of the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. Thank you for the blessings that you shower on this city. Thank you for the rains that you're bringing this morning. Thank you for replenishing this earth in that way. We ask that as we conduct this business, Father, that we focus our minds on what is right for the good of all, that we are good stewards of the funds that the citizens of San Angelo have gathered, and that everything we decide is to their benefit. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, sir. All right, at this time I will open the floor for public comment. The board takes public comment on all items on the regular agenda. Public input on an on a regular agenda item will be taken at the appropriate discussion. Public input on an item not on the agenda or consent agenda may be identified and requested for consideration by the board at this time. The board may request an item be placed on a future agenda or for a consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for public comment. Is there any public comment? There being none, we will move on to our regular agenda, and I want to let everybody know today we will be using a 5-minute time limit. We have a rather lengthy agenda, and I want to give everyone to have an equal opportunity to speak for the different items we have on the agenda, so I will be using a 5-minute timer to let you guys know, and you will have notification up there of what we got going there. All right, we will kick it off. First item is consideration of approving the I got to do consent agenda first. Get approval there. Does anybody have any questions about items on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. I have a motion and a second for approval of the items on the consent agenda. Any other comments? Any public comments? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, regular agenda. Now we're ready. Consideration of approving the September 2014 fiscal year-end financial statements and any action connection thereto. Presentation by Ms. Rebecca Tambunga. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, for the September financials, I'm going to go ahead and look at the activity for the month as well as explain how we ended for the year. So on the first page, the executive summary, we have our available fund balances. For the economic development side, we're at $6.7 million, and for the ballot side, we're a little over $1 million. Sales tax for the month of September, we received $759,000. We are up almost 15%. Year to date, we are in excess of $1.2 million. On page 2, you have the expenditures by major category. As you look the economic development side, a little over 50% of those expenses were for other, which are administrative, staff services, the BRC, CVCED, as well as our projects. The remaining is for our partner affiliations. On the balance side, you see a majority of those expenses are for our debt service payment. On page 3, we have the balance sheet for the economic development side. On the assets, we have our cash and investments of $8.8 million, receivables of $426,000, and our fixed assets of $3.3 million. For the liabilities and fund equity side, our payables of $70,000. And for the fund equity, we have that designation for the economic development projects of $2.4 million, fixed assets of $3.3 million, bringing you to that unreserved fund balance for the economic development side of $6.7 million. On the revenue and expense report for the economic development side, our revenues, our main source of revenue is our sales tax. For the month, we received $247,000. Year to date, we are at $2.5 million. Budget was $2.2 million, so as you can see, we're 115% of budget. We did receive some lease income of $52,000. That included the L3 hangar, as well as some income from the CVCED and BRC lease income. Total revenues for the month were $302,000, and year to date, we're a little over $3 million. Expenditures, we had our routine items, as well as ensuring that our contracts were satisfied. So you can see that we did have that staff service payment of $133,000, our chamber payment of $37,000, downtown San Angelo of $18,000, and that Texas Bank Sport Complex of $25,000. Our total expenditures for the month were $283,000. Year to date, they are almost $850,000. So we were revenue over expenditures for the month of $18,000, as well as for the year of $2.2 million. On page 5, we have the breakdown for those economic development projects. The only update on this page was for Smith Boulevard. The board did approve to increase that budget to $753,369. So that brings your commitment to $2.4 million for those economic development projects. On page 6, we have the balance sheet for the ballot side. On the assets, we have our cash of $3.3 million, our receivable of a little over $1 million. On the liabilities and fund equity, we have a payable of $9,500. And on the fund equity, we have that designation for affordable housing of $6,500, as well as a designation for that voter-approved projects. That's what we discussed last month to satisfy that ballot language, and that's being reported at $3.3 million, bringing you to that fund balance for the ballot side of a little over $1 million. On page 7, we have the revenue and expenditure report for the ballot side. Our revenues for sales tax, we received $637,000. Year to date, we are at $6.6 million. Budget was $5.7. So again, we are at 115% of budget. On the expenditures, again, satisfying our contracts for the year, we did make the staff service payment of $44,000. Our debt service payment this month of $564,000. Sports facility maintenance of $131,000. As well as our projects, affordable housing had $55,000, West Texas Partnership $53,000, and the reclaimed water alternatives of $26,000. Total expenses for the month of September were $876,000, and for the year were $4.9 million. As you can see, revenue was under expenditures for the month of September by $239,000. That is due to that large debt service payment of $564, but for the year, we were over expenditures $1.6 million. Page 8 has the ballot projects, and we still have a remaining balance for affordable housing of $6,500. The next pages will have a little bit of information on the detailed transaction by account, as well as those voter-approved projects. Any questions on the September financials or year end?
Questions? All right.
I'll make the motion that we accept as presented.
All right. Have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any further board discussion? Any public comment? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. One thing that I skipped, and before I go ahead, I failed to introduce our newest board member. Mr. Juan Flores is with us today, replacing a board member, so we want to welcome you to the board and appreciate you serving with us.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Looks like on item number 4, you got that one?
I believe.
I don't see Charlotte.
Okay. We're gonna have to wait on her.
Okay, we're gonna skip number 4 to come back to. We will move to item number 5, consideration and possible action regarding a board nomination by Development Corporation and designated members to the Water Advisory Board.
Good morning, board members. This item really was provided to me by the city clerk, and I'm gonna rely on her to assist me if there's some additional questions that I may not have an answer to. This is an item that involves the Water Advisory Board that is an advisory board to the City Council and the City Manager. It is established by ordinance, and the board composition was revised last month on September the 16th. They made an amendment to the board composition, allowing for a representative, or the different makeup of the board. The Costa DC board is allowed to nominate someone. It can be someone from the board, or it can be a city staff person. The board provides it, or at least the board meets on a regular basis, at least per quarter. This item is before you. You have in your packet the ordinance as well as the application and a description of the Water Advisory Board. And with that, I submit that to you for consideration. If you have any questions, both myself and Alicia would be glad to answer.
And the nominations will be for this next meeting, or
Well, whenever they call the meeting.
they call the meeting? Okay. That would be a great board for you to serve.
And do I understand correctly?
If you look at the board commission membership criteria at the bottom of the page, it gives you a description of the Water Advisory Board and what the makeup is expected for that board.
Roland, does it have to be a member of this body, of this board?
The way it reads, it says one appointee by the City of San Angelo Development Corporation who shall be an individual who is either a member of the Costa DC Board or a city employee who performs staff services by contract for the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. So it's either one of the board members, existing board members, or anyone that provides city staff services for you. That'd be myself or Bob or Tina back there, or
Tina
or-
it is. Well, there we go. She gave me the nod.
No, I don't think that was a nod, Scott.
No. Roland, I know your background includes some activities with other water boards, not waterboarding, but water boards. And honestly, I'd like to know if you would be interested in doing that, filling that position for us.
Since you don't have anything else to do.
Well, we've been trying very hard this year to stay very focused. We really want to focus on our core mission. I believe this is an important item to economic development, and I would be glad to serve. Having worked at the Lower Colorado River Authority and having led some projects there, including a water supply resource plan that provided for water supplies for the next 100 years and led the communication efforts and outreach, I would be glad to serve.
So nominated.
Yeah.
I will second that nomination.
Check. All right. Well, I have, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I need to clarify before we move forward with this. I did find a conflict of interest as far as the memberships on the boards. For Costa DC, no other member can serve on another board. And then I think I may have found another one with employees serving on other boards, because it would also be construed as a conflict of interest. So I just need to clarify that with Ms. Bowling and make sure that we are in compliance with all of our policies. And we may have to amend the Costa DC ordinance to state that this would be the exception, that a member of the Costa DC board could serve on this committee.
Okay.
So before we move forward with this, I
I was gonna say,
suggest
do we
that.
need to table that then?
Yes.
until
I
we
would go
get
ahead and table that.
clarification?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'm good with that.
Get another month of
Same.
rest,
Yeah.
Roland.
All right, so we will consider that agenda item tabled until a future meeting. All right, at this time, we will move on. Presentation and consideration regarding amendments to the City of San Angelo Development Corporation Affordable Housing Assistance Program Guidelines. We have Mr. Bob Salas with us this morning.
Good morning, Board.
Morning, Bob.
We're here this morning to recommend a couple of changes to our Affordable Housing Assistance Program. We call it a HAP. We believe that it's long coming. We need to get some changes made. However, I'd like to first start with an overview of the program to kind of get the board up to speed. Oh,
Not
is
in.
there a trick to this?
Airport.
So we motion in vain.
We are allocated $335,000 a year to carry out the primary program, which is gap financing for first-time home buyers with a $40,000 cap for new home construction. We do secure our investment with a deed of trust and a deferred lien. The program is only for low, moderate-income citizens living in San Angelo. And because we built such a huge fund balance at the beginning of the program, we were able to carry on some short-term projects over the years to kind of support the city's overall neighborhood revitalization efforts. That included neighborhood blitzes, rehabs, roof replacements, and we bought and sold some houses. However, the fund balance has been expended, and now we're basically tied now to the core program. Here's a status of some of the past and present projects. You can see we built 48 new homes, spending $1.9 million. We spent $480,000 on 126 houses during our blitzes. We did 60 rehabs, 112 roof replacements, and we bought and sold 6 houses there on Shelton Street through a project that happened several years back. Here are the 2 changes we're recommending. Basically, the first is to increase the minimum mortgage amount from $55,000 to $60,000. This will allow the homes to exceed the $100,000 threshold and require the home buyers to carry up to cover the difference. Of course, the debt-to-income ratio will stay the same, and that's set by FHA. The second change is to allow builders to get and build for their own clients. We have several builders who work very hard to contact and nurture some of these home buyers, and we want to make sure that they can stay with that client throughout the entire process. The next step is to get board recommendations. And then we'll come back next month to provide the final version of the guidelines for approval. Okay, and I can take recommendations now, or you can send them to email. You can email me, or you can give them to the staff, and we'll incorporate those changes and bring them back to you.
All right. Questions?
I do believe we have some folks here to make some public comment.
Sure.
on some
I
of
was
these
going
things, so
to
we'll-
call for public comment as well. We'll go ahead and get public comment at this time. We'll get board input after that. And as you come forward, please remember our 5-minute time limit that we have established from the start of the meeting.
My name's Terry Shaner. I'm the Executive Director for Galilee Community Development Corporation. We're one of the nonprofits that work with this program, and we're very appreciative of the program, the way it's been able to help the neighborhoods and improve San Angelo as a whole. We have built 21 of the homes under this program, and since the beginning of the program, we have been allowed to vet our own clients, market the program for for people. We've been able to do income verification, hold their hand. A lot of these families are not familiar with banking and things like that. We have a staff that's capable of basically helping people that are not in your traditional understanding of home ownership learn the process, and we take them from renter to home buyer to home owner. We work with them through our IDA program, which provides additional education requirements that they have to provide. They learn. We teach them code compliance, things you don't have to do when you're a renter, because when you're a homeowner, that becomes important, and several other topics that they learn beyond the basic homebuyer education classes. We help them with their down payment. We work with them on their floor plans. We are the general contractor for our clients. We basically do everything that needs to be done to get that family into the bank. We've worked with near credit-worthy clients, people that are, banks right now are looking at like around 640 for a credit score. We'll get clients in that are maybe like a 600 that need some work on their credit. We work with near credit-worthy clients. We've worked with some of our clients for over 2 years to get them up to that point where they can get approved at the bank and into their home. I say all this to say that with the recommended changes as they are right now, and I know you're not voting on those today, but leaves the city of San Angelo as the only community housing services, as the only entity that can actually do the intake, income verification, the whole process. And we just turn into just another builder. Yes, we get the bill for our clients, but we would really like our involvement in this to become where we continue what we've been doing for the past 7 years. We take them, we get them approved. They are reviewed. When they're approved by us, our board, they get approved by the COSA Community Housing Services. So they are still in the loop, but we do all the legwork for them, which saves you all money, it saves them time. It's a good deal. And it keeps us close, and there's a trust that we build with our clients, and I don't want to see that destroyed through changes to this program. Okay. One last thing too, our homes, we're selling them for $100,000 right now. This will change with the change of the program, however they come up with. But the last house that we built, it appraised out at $109,500. So they are appraising for more than what but it didn't cost us $195,000 to build it, because we're capable of building homes for less money. That's all I have to say, unless you have any questions.
I guess I do have one, Terry.
Sure.
I guess your request is that you be able to remain a builder to the exclusion of any other builders? Or maybe I'm not hearing what you're asking.
Right. And that's really going to be your decision. If you want to go that route, we're okay with that route, to build all the homes, because we build our homes, our construction costs. When it comes to AHAP funds, if you take a look, and we have the documentation, but I'm not going to present it here. We have a documentation that when we build an AHAP home, it costs you and the citizens who are funding this affordable housing program $6,000 less on closing costs. So if you wanted us to build them all, you could save some money. But if you want to continue to let the for-profit participants involved, let us build for our people, because that's we care about our people.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Question for Terry. So, with regard to the changes, you're in favor, or do you have an issue with any of the changes that are recommended?
Oh, well, we have issues with some of the things that are in the recommendation, absolutely. But I didn't know if I should discuss them here, if we were going to discuss them as a group discussion.
Well, there'll be a public hearing next month, and at that point you can bring that up. I was just curious because I couldn't tell from the comments.
Well, I can give you the list if you really want to list.
I would be interested if you could send that. Would it be appropriate for him to send that to
so
us
we can read
so
it?
we can review that?
Sure.
So, I would be interested if you want to just send it to
And I'll forward it
Roland or
on to the
Bob,
board
and
members,
then send it to us to review your list of concerns. I would be interested in seeing that.
Sure, we'll do that.
Okay. I do have a question for Bob. Bob, when the program started, if my memory's correct, this was open to all builders.
And it still is.
And it still is. But we don't have any other builders other than Galilee?
We actually have 3 builders. We have Tad Logan, Bill Feist, and Galilee. We have a rotation list. As clients come in, we match them up with the next client, with the next builder that's in line, and we work that way. The problem is that Galilee gets their own clients. They bring clients, and now we're going to steal them and put them on the list to have Logan build for them. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem for somebody like a Galilee who does do the nurturing, and they do a great job of that. So we usually want to formalize their ability to continue doing that. That's what we want to do.
Okay, thanks.
Bob, on the construction cost, are all the builders allowed the same amount, the 100,000?
That's correct. They're allowed 100,000 max with 5,000 for land, to purchase land, so 105,000.
And Galilee provides that, the land, is that part of their package that they offer to their clients, or?
That's probably, want to help you on this? I'm not quite sure where they tie that land in.
Initially, we were including the land into the sales price, but because construction costs are going up, and they have them, we are now doing like all the other for-profit builders buy. It's basically, depending on, we give lots of options on there. It's not a custom home, but we call it a hybrid because they have options and choices. You know, if they want to upgrade a little bit, well, we'll do that if we keep it in budget, or if they can afford to pay a little bit extra. But concerning the land, we've been doing the land where the land goes into the closing costs on the last closing. That's how we did it. You know, so $100,000 plus whatever the cost of the land, up to $5,000. And our next presenter, one of the presenters that is coming up here in a minute, can kind of, I don't want to steal his thunder away from him, but he'll explain why we can bill for $6,000 less, or less AHAB money.
Thank you, Terry. Come on up, Mr. Kreider. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm Floyd Kreider. I'm the founder and past president and board member of Galilee Community Development Corporation. Just want to talk to you today about a couple of things. One is how we do what we do for less and how we do it better. We do it for less because we have a group of volunteers for a number of reasons, about 6 of them. We have a group of volunteers that work for nothing that help with the planning and execution of the mission, so we don't have to hire someone to do that. We have a board that does that. We also, as a federal 501c3 nonprofit, save 8.5% because of sales taxes that we don't pay because we're a nonprofit. So that's the savings that the board gets as well. We invocated deity to help us to be good stewards at the beginning of this meeting, and I think that if you're good stewards, then you're going to want to save as much money as you can. And in fact, the policy that exists right now says that we should maximize our efficiency and effectiveness. Also, as a nonprofit, we receive donations. We received 12 lots on Weaver Street, 25th and Brown, and other places, because as people make a donation, they can write it off. We give them an FMV, a fair market value voucher, and they can get a tax break for donating. I don't think that people who will be donating anything to for-profits or to the city per se, and they certainly don't get a tax write-off for it. And certain nonprofits get appliances. Amana gives a stove and a refrigerator to every Habitat house that's built, and we also, as a nonprofit, receive donations as well. We not only encourage, but we require sweat equity. Different nonprofits require anywhere from 100 to 400 hours of sweat equity. It helps the client with his down payment. It also provides the client some buy-in, because you know that if you have so much time and money invested in something, you're less likely to default on it. And in fact, nonprofits, we started in 2000, Habitat before then, but nonprofits throughout the 2007, 08, 09 recession had zero, nada, rien, kind, goose egg foreclosures on any of our properties. I don't know if anyone else can say that. One of the reasons that happens is because we provide excellent service. We've been recognized by COSA DC, by the city, by the Chamber of Commerce, with plaques and acknowledgments, by the NAACP. Sue is here. We have a coalition of churches, Interfaith in Action, WTOS. We've been recognized by them as well for what we do. You also will receive some consideration by the fact that if you're a nonprofit of getting grants. There's not a whole lot of people lining up to give grants to for-profits, but there are to nonprofits. We have worked with Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, federal government in terms of HUD, and of course half-cent sales tax here in the city. We have an individual development account, or IDA, which helps our clients also come up with a down payment. We are required by the city to have certain documents according to risk management, workman's comp, board insurance, bonding, and other insurance. That's for a program that would involve HUD. Nonprofits are not, for-profits or other people that are working with half-cent sales tax are not required to do that. primarily because if you're working with city money directly, well, they want to make sure that there's not a risk involved. But the for-profits are just working with their clients. And here you have a situation where we want to make sure the city doesn't get defrauded, but how about doing something for the clients? So we could think that any for-profits ought to have the same requirements that we have as far as ensuring good ethics are complied with. I looked up Texas tax code 505 for type B half-cent sales tax, which is what we are, a city of 400,000 or less. There are several things you can do with the money. A lot of it is municipal and recreation and so forth. And then the second thing you can do is affordable housing. And it mentions in there, as you probably know, that you should do, well, I'm not going to read it to you, but basically get the best bang for the buck. So if we're saving you $7,000 per house, I can't understand why we wouldn't do all of them, because we're saving the money and providing more housing. If we can build 6 houses and for-profits would only build 4 a year, it doesn't make sense to me not to do that. And I understand that the city and the state and just about everybody, even Development Corporation, when it comes to having somebody work on a project, I'm sorry, excuse me, may I take Pam's, she wants to donate her 5 minutes and yield the floor to me. But I'm only going to take 2 or 3 of them. I just want to finish it.
Well,
She doesn't look that way, Floyd.
She doesn't look like she wanted to give it up.
She doesn't look like she wants to give it up.
I would take about 2 or 3 minutes to finish, and she's yielding the floor to me for 2 or 3 minutes, if that would be okay with the board.
Well, Will. Y'all good with that?
She's not speaking today.
All right. Okay, you got 3 more.
Thank you, I appreciate it. One of the things that the 505 says is that you'll provide the best bang for the buck for the clients. It does not say that you will guarantee that everybody that qualifies or whatever that wants to build will be able to get a shot at doing it, and they get to do it in turn in rotation. It doesn't say that. The American free market system says that you go with the lowest bid, lowest acceptable bid for a project that you're doing. If you have an ongoing project and you want consistency, you put out a request for a proposal, and you might have it for 6 months, a year, or all the way up to 5 years, or what have you, and then you put it out again so other people may get a chance to do it. That's the way it works. Only time where everybody gets a shot to do everything is in Little League, but this ain't Little League, and this is public money. So we should be going with the best bang for the buck, in my opinion. And plus, one of the people that do the best work, and we have a record of doing the best work. Thank you for your time and attention. Any questions?
Any questions?
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
These appraisals that was mentioned earlier, you're talking about bank appraisals?
Well,
Okay.
Tom Green County tax appraisal.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
bank or tax?
The first mortgage is to the bank, and the
Okay.
bank's going to send an appraiser out. It's that appraisal.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Floyd.
Further public comment? Okay. All right. All right.
Well, Board, like I said, I'll be, next month, we'll come back with the final version after taking everybody's input
Okay.
and for your approval, and we will go from there.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, just one final
Yes, sir.
comment before Bob leaves. You also noticed on the guidelines, there were some minor changes there, strike-throughs, there just to clean it up, clarification purposes.
Sure.
Yeah. because
Yes,
there's a
I
lot
did.
of-
All right. All right. Thank you, Bob. Next item, presentation and update regarding the San Angelo Regional Airport Air Service Development Plan, Strategies and Measures.
Mr. Chair and Board, Luis Elguizabal, Airport Director. If it's okay, I'll yield some of my time for the next agenda item to Edward. He's got a good presentation.
Now, he doesn't look shocked.
Well, it's good to be back here with you guys again. As you guys know, I am from Dallas, so if it makes you feel better, I bought
Oh,
hand
good.
sanitizer
No, you
so
didn't
can
bring any
protect
Ebola with
yourselves, from me. And to ask a consultant to stick to 5 minutes talking is the consultant equivalent of that waterboarding that Roland apparently is so fond of. But if you guys have questions in what we have here, please interrupt me anytime. I'm going to go through this quickly to try to stick to 5 minutes, but if you guys have questions,
Sure.
Please feel free to jump in and we can stop and sort of adapt. We were last before you back in July. So real quickly, I wanted to remind you of what it is that we said we were going to do back when we met in July, give you some quick highlights of what progress we've made to date, what still lies in front of us, and then kind of summarize that, and of course take any questions that you all might have. This was sort of an overview that we showed you back in July. You'll notice the July date's still on there. That's not a mistake. Essentially, what we're trying to do is to use the existing Small Community Air Service Development Grant that is expiring at the end of this year to try to increase the chances of attracting new service for San Angelo. Quickly trying to identify and capitalize on quick wins, if there are any, and also position San Angelo for long-term success. The steps in order were to assess the market using several key processes that we normally take. You see reference to the leakage study, which I'll touch on, a market assessment, and then a comparative analysis with another market, Minot, North Dakota, that we thought was very similar and it might have some learning for us that we could apply in our discussions with the airlines. Obviously extend the SCASD grant. And then one of the key issues that we talked about last time was the need not just to do a report, but also to come up with a plan that the city can execute after our work here is done, whether it's with us or on your own, but to give you something to be able to follow up on over time so you're not just buying a bunch of research and then don't have anything that you can do with it. So that's kind of what we agreed to do. Where we are so far is we have completed the leakage study and the market assessment. Which gives us an understanding of what the data tell us about what the airlines are going to look at the market as, and also identify problems and opportunities that we need to address in those discussions. And real quickly, what we find here is the market has improved over the last several years. There used to be a pretty substantial fare gap between San Angelo and, say, Midland. But over time, the last 3 years in particular, that gap has shrunk as San Angelo fares have improved a little bit, but Midland fares have dramatically increased as airlines have cut capacity and raised fares there, especially Southwest Airlines, my former employer. San Angelo is fortunate in the sense that it retains a very high percentage of the traffic from its what we call primary service area, which is, you can see on this map here. The area in the middle, which is called SJT primary, those are people who should, based on geography, fly out of San Angelo. And San Angelo retains 93% of its traffic. As an example, to tell you how high that is, LAX, another one of our clients, which is a huge international airport, only retains 92% of its traffic. Okay, so the airport's doing a good job of retaining what it has. It hasn't been very effective, which is not surprising, at making inroads into other areas around Midland, or what we call the contention or swing zones between Midland and San Angelo. And that's an opportunity for the future, given how San Angelo has improved in terms of its fare over time. So there are opportunities here, but and measurable demand from San Angelo beyond Dallas and Houston is kind of slight. There's not a lot of traffic on a daily basis to a lot of other markets. So the challenge is going to be to find the right airline to serve the market without running afoul of one of these conditions here, which we've said is to attract new service without unnecessarily jeopardizing what you have. Okay, so I think that's key, to do the both, to get new service, but don't destabilize the market. I'm going to skip that slide because of time. The comparative analysis has to do with what we looked at with Minot. And what we found is that there are a couple of key similarities between Minot and San Angelo. They're both geographically positioned relatively similarly to the shale fields, and trends in rig activity and sales volume, meaning the economic activity in the market, both look very similar. There are two key differences, though. One is good and one is maybe not so good. Your population is twice as big as Minot's. That should be good. The challenge is that Minot is so much more remote from other airline hubs compared to San Angelo that really there wasn't an alternative for airlines but to serve it. You're much better served by roads here to major cities than they were. The good news is that Minot looks very similar to San Angelo. We think it provides us the ability to show airlines a story. About 24 months before employment growth spiked in Minot, you saw increases in activity. I know this is hard to see on this, but these spikes here have to do with drilling activity, with sales tax, and with building permits. You want me to keep going?
I'm going to yield him some time.
Okay. So we can see about 2 years in advance of the increase in employment activity, other activity increasing in the market. San Angelo looks not identical, but similar. The main difference is building permits didn't take off here as early as drilling activity or sales tax, but that seems to have changed now, going back to last year. So it appears that given all the various other fluctuations going on, that right about now is the time when, given the other lead indicators, that we think it's reasonable for an airline to expect increased demand for air service into San Angelo. So that's the case that we're going to make with them and with DOT to extend the SCASD grant. As far as next steps, basically it's those things: extend the grant and begin the conversations with airlines about 2015. Real quickly, this is a Gantt chart. It essentially shows that the project has been on schedule. We're going to be about 1 week behind where we said we wanted to be in terms of submitting to DOT for the SCASD grant. The data was a little more complicated than we envisioned. We're in discussions with DOT. They know it's coming. We're not in jeopardy, but we wanted to disclose that we have been on schedule. We're 1 week off, but we're in communication and we should be in good shape. That's sort of the highlights.
So with the grant, I mean, things look good for that extension happening. We're not going to lose what we have left.
Well, so the grant expires at the end of this calendar year.
Right.
DOT has the ability to extend only for 12 months. In theory, they can extend it more than once, but they won't extend it for more than 12 months at a time. They like ideally to see a letter of support from an airline saying that they are looking at the market. It's not required, but it helps. So we are in discussions with several airlines, one in particular, trying to get that letter. We expect to have that decision from them any minute now. If they give us that, I think the odds of getting the grant extended are extremely good. Without it, it's probably a 50-50 shot. Even if we don't get it, the research that we're doing and the data that we've aggregated are essential to the long-term marketing and planning for the airport, irrespective of whether there's a grant or not. So this was work that needed to be done. Obviously, we want the grant. The marketing plan that we still need to do as part of what we said we would do as our initial scope will still be there. The question is, will we have, as a tool in that toolbox, will we have a SCASD grant to help offset the startup cost of an airline or not? But all the other elements of that plan really aren't dependent upon the SCASD grant.
Other questions from the board?
No, sir.
Any public comment? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. All right. Moving forward, presentation and update of the airport terminal renovation project. Lou's back up.
And I'll be quick. Thank you. Just a quick summary, the budget summary, we started with $5.9 million for the project. Through change orders, we've increased it to $6.2 million. We've only paid out $3.7 million, so we're about 63% of the budget used. Development Corporation funds, $207,000 paid, $293,000 remaining of that $500,000 voter approved. Couple pictures. This is the front of the terminal right now. The building, temporary building that you see here will be the new temporary restroom facilities. The interior has opened for the baggage claim on the right, rental cars on the left. The floor still needs to be done. That will be done at night, starting in a few weeks. More shots of the rental car area. The new, the new airline counters. This is the new temporary restroom facility. It is not a porta-john. 88 ramps are being built, and the whole building will be air-conditioned and heated, plus plumbing will be installed. Another shot of the ramp being built. A shot of into the from the meet and greet area into the baggage claim area. Upcoming milestones: the rental car companies will be moving back into the building this Friday. The monument adjacent to the terminal will start construction of that next week. Lane restriction will be to 1.5 lanes in front of the terminal. Closing of the first floor restrooms will happen late next week, so everybody will have to use a temporary restroom facility for a while. And closing of the front entrance will happen the week of November 17th. When that happens, the terminal circle will be closed and all traffic will be routed through short-term parking. And
What is the monument?
this, I was going to show you right now in the rendering. This monument on the right will be built, start being built this week. This is where the dumpsters used to be, and we'll have a beautiful new monument with flags. Mr. Hirschfield wanted flags. Any questions?
I've got a question about completion date. Where, is it in sight?
Right now, what Templeton has told me is late June of next year. Might be quicker.
So another 8 months. When did we start this?
January 25th, 2011.
1971.
Any other questions?
I've got a comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad the baggage train works again.
Thank you. We do too. Winter's coming up, and I didn't want passengers going outside picking up
All
their
right,
bags.
so eight months, okay. All right, further board questions? Any public comment? All right, we will move on. Next item is presentation and update on improvements to the development process. We have Mr. Patrick Howard with us. And I have to say, I'd like to know why you dressed down for us. No tux, really? Oh, man. You looked good yesterday. Not that you don't look good today.
Patrick, tell him if he's not going to shave, then you're not going to wear the tux.
Well, no, what not to wear next time I come.
Look good, yes.
Everything's a learning experience. Well, thank you for allowing me to be here. Oh, I just realized the other person. Okay. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. We would like to provide you a periodic update of some of the things that have been happening with the development services process, primarily led by the Department of Planning and Development Services, although we obviously have several partners to include Coastal DC and Public Works and Public Utilities and other folks that are integral to the development process. So I wanted to just make mention of that. As it relates to the Planning and Development Services Department, however, this is our leadership team. The director we have, it's hard to read there, and wish I would have saw that, but AJ Favre is our Planning and Development Administrator. Al Torres is a building official. Rebecca Guerra is our planning manager. She's been here about 3 months. Mike Smith is the GIS manager. And engineering services, which was formerly under us as of November 1st, it will be reorganized under the new Public Works group, I'm calling it. So we have a mission to preserve and maintain the historic and diverse neighborhoods of San Angelo by facilitating, and I mean facilitating, not actually doing, but being a conduit for sustainable, orderly growth and development. Just a few quotes about our philosophy in terms of improving the development process. You can't remain the same. We need to evolve as a community, and as the community evolves and grows, we need to grow and change as the community changes. So just a few quotes about why we need to evolve and grow in how we deliver services to this community. Just more about transformations from some people that you may respect and consider to be worthy of note. So Albert Einstein says we shall require a substantially new manner of thinking if mankind is to survive. And Winston Churchill says that we shape our buildings, and afterwards our buildings shape us. And it really talks and speaks to the idea of how we engage communities, how the community affects us, and how we affect the community. And collectively, when you talk about a sustainable community, you're talking about the people and you're talking about the experience you have in a community. And that's really what we're trying to work on and build throughout the department. So just to highlight about a few of the changes that have been, or some of the things that are ongoing or underway, we're going to talk about the Development Task Force, Development Review Committee, and the others you see there. I'm looking at my time, so I'm just speeding up here. So the Development Task Force was created, and as a result, we've had a lot of good dialogue. Many of you may have participated at some point. We encourage your participation if your schedule would allow. I would say one of the first things that we probably got accomplished is yesterday. We've been looking at the International Building Code and ways in which we can figure out ways to ease some of the requirements. So one of the requirements was that a water cooler would be required in any office building, and one of the things that we changed on as of yesterday, the City Council did, was they approved the idea that if you had a small office building, you would have the ability to have in bottled water as opposed to the requirement for a water cooler. So that's just an example of something that is seemingly a small, but I mean, we hear it a lot. And so we're working on other portions of other ordinances to try to streamline those and improve those. And in many cases, maybe remove those if in fact we see those as being onerous or unnecessary. So that's the kind of feedback we get from our Development Task Force, and we're very happy that we have that forum to have those kinds of discussions. So we again invite and encourage your participation if your schedule allows for such. The Development Review Committee, and this has been going on for some time, we made some changes to the Development Review Committee in terms of the materials. We want to be able to be a little more responsive. We also are now providing written comments to applicants when they are, or potential applicants as they come and seek the input of staff to help their proposed or potential project. And we've had good participation, and we are very excited about the direction that we're going in with respect to the Development Review Committee. An outgrowth of that is what we're calling development consultation. One of the things that we realize is that in many cases, folks, because the Development Review Committee was the only kind of formalized forum in which folks got input, we just...
It's fine. Keep going.
Okay.
Continue.
All right. Stop me right in my tracks. I was like... Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap it up here. So the development consultation, we, again, folks are able to come in and ask for some specific feedback from individuals, not the entire group, and we can sort of narrow that down and just have a discussion. So that it may not be anything required to be submitted for that purpose, but that's going well. Neighborhood asset mapping is on our city's website, COSATX.us/neighborhoods. Provides information about neighborhoods, provide information about projects, about development going on throughout the city, the evaluation of those projects, about ongoing activities related to zoning, planning, permitting, and the like. So please visit the website. Single point of contact. It's our way of being able to handhold folks through the development process to ensure that the project is well coordinated and that the ability to sort of ensure that things are moving smoothly. So we have someone specifically assigned to helping sort of shepherd folks through the development process, and we believe that is going very well. Electronic plan review, we got approval yesterday. There's still a few more steps remaining. However, you'll have the ability to submit plans electronically, be notified of where the status of your plans. No longer would you have to bring in your 9 big rolls of required drawings, because you'll be able to submit those online and even track the status of your project. There'll be cost savings as a result, and we believe it'll help improve the process. Any questions?
What about I'm sorry.
I just have a comment that I'm glad to see that some of the minor changes, the water cooler deal bit me on a deal several years ago.
There you go.
I'm glad to see that, while yes, those are minor, I remember when that happened to us, I was like, are you kidding me? So I'm glad to see that y'all are addressing those things, because I do, we get beat up from time to time about business friendliness, especially establishing businesses, and I like to see the fact that we're making those steps.
Okay, my question was...
Yes, sir.
Because I know that I served on the planning board too long, But what we consistently saw was a failure of code enforcement. And that seemed to be the weak link in the whole thing, because, you know, if you allow somebody under set guidelines to build a certain property,
Yes.
and then they agree to do this, and then they do something different and nothing's done about it, there goes your entire planning process. So does code enforcement play an important part of this as well?
I believe it does. I think you're right. Policies are only as good as they're enforced, and so it's a challenge. I think that what I've found interesting is that many people don't even come in and ask to get building permits, and so that's a problem as well. The other thing is that oftentimes folks will pull the permit and not close up, so they'll expire before. They'll expire, in 6 months and with no follow-up. So we're trying to figure out ways in which we could do better follow-up as it relates to that, because in many cases, folks are not following through. So we have expired permits, we have folks that don't have certificate of occupancy. So we're trying to figure out ways to address that by having a little bit more quality control out in the field. But it's a process that we're trying to sort of unpeel and try to figure out the best way to achieve that. But I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Patrick, talk a little bit about the training that your staff gets in all the areas that you mentioned. It seems to me that may be a disconnect from some things that I hear is either lack of training or maybe turnover in your department. I'm not sure what, but talk a little bit about training and maybe even turnover.
Sure. Well, I'll talk about the latter first. Turnover is a challenge. I think that there's probably two groups of people: those who have been there for a very short period of time, and those who have been there for a very long period of time. And so you're seeing those folks that have been there for a long period of time that have a lot of institutional knowledge. They're retiring. We've had 2 retirements in the last month. For folks that have been there 20 years or more. And so that is a challenge. I think that one of the things that we're trying to do is be a little more competitive with salaries and such to attract folks that would like to come to San Angelo and make it their home and contribute to the development process. So we're trying to work on that. And one of the things too is, as you mentioned, some of the folks a lot of times haven't had what you call ICC certification. So that's one of the things we're trying to work on. But as you know, probably working in organizations, in any kind of organization, generally the first thing that goes is money for training and travel. So there hadn't been a lot of funds, to be quite frankly, for such purposes, but we're working on that as we speak to try to figure out how we can do some more of that train-the-trainer and then some of the more internal training. So that is a goal of ours because, again, obviously, well-trained folks obviously lead to things that are, more quality control and obviously should expedite the development process as well. So we are trying to address that. Again, through the means that I've mentioned, but it is a challenge, and we have had a lot of turnover, quite frankly.
Is all training done, I'm going to say, off-site, or do you have some things that you yourself, maybe it's just through staff meeting, I'm not sure how it would be done, but the kind of the customer-friendly sort of things that you would promote within the department, that things that I often hear would seem to me to be common sense things that you would do or not do, but how are some of those maybe more routine kinds of things addressed with staff?
Sure. Well, the city did hire someone to do some sort of customer service training a little while back. They're looking at re-engaging that individual to help with some of those things. But we also we have meetings where we talk about customer service philosophy. I had my department, we developed a customer service philosophy that we're trying to sort of encourage and sort of help change the culture. We also, what we've done is created an online survey, and that's attached to everyone's signature block because we want to get feedback, so we use that SurveyMonkey in order to get that sort of feedback. We'll be revisiting in 6 months from the date we started the survey. We'll send out a survey also that people will do online, customers and stakeholders will do online to give us that feedback so we can use it as a teaching point to figure out how we can improve service delivery and improve customer service for that matter. So there are things we're working on, certainly toward that end, because our goal is obviously to be customer friendly and to be business friendly, and I think that we're making strides to make that happen.
Thanks.
Questions? All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, our next item is presentation and possible action authorizing the Economic Development Director to negotiate a contract for professional services to complete the application and submission for Phase 3 of the AEP Quality Site Certification before August 2015 for the San Angelo Business and Industrial Park. Mr. Pena.
Get us there. All right, board. This request from staff is to allow staff to contract for services. As you know, we've been working to obtain a certification with AEP for the San Angelo Business and Industrial Park. We have been working with them for several months now, and we have embarked on a 3-phase process, and you're invited after each phase if you're successful. So we've advanced through 2 different phases. Phase 3 is obviously going to be more vigorous for us and more time consuming. It's going to require a lot more work and a lot more studies, and we've been given the date of August 2015. Normally, what we would do is ask for an RFP or an RFQ and follow the city guidelines for that. I have talked to legal and purchasing, and because the Development Corporation is their own entity, we have, and there's some legality that I can't put it in the terminology, but what I'm told is that we are exempt. And the only reason I'm seeking this deviation is because of the timeline. I'm concerned that if I go through the RFP, RFQ process for a lot of these different services, that we'll be very, very tight on the timeline and maybe may not be able to submit on time. My goal and our desire as staff would be to try to complete the studies and the application sometime in March or April. Allow us to give some cushion to complete the application and submit that in advance, at least a month or 2 in advance of that application. Obviously, the professional services will allow us to submit the application rendered and ready for construction. Just to give you an idea of what those studies look like, and I've mentioned them before, these are, and for the benefit of the audience, a boundary survey of the entire property, title attorney opinion, topography survey. There is some engineering cost. Engineering services is minimal. Phase 1 environmental assessment, wetlands assessment, federal and state endangered and threatened species assessment, archaeological, historical, and cultural resources survey, geotechnical investigation, draft covenants, master development plan, site drainage master plan, conceptual rail layout if feasible. We'd like to include that, and biology for threatened and endangered species if required, and we won't know that until all the studies move forward. In essence, we're looking for, in my opinion, the services that the entity that has all these services, that can make all these services available, that can package all these services, more of a project management type of service that includes a lot of these planning documents and studies. And so that's what I'm asking for here today, and I'm open to any questions.
Roland, what cost are we looking at? Estimate, I know you can't.
I have a number estimated in my mind, because if we choose to go through RFP, RFQ, I'd rather retain that and see if we can negotiate that, and if that's the route that you want to take.
Roland, are you asking for permission to go ahead and negotiate this contract with a specific contract with a specific entity, or are you just asking for authorization to proceed in this manner?
I'm asking for authorization to begin seeking those services, and I can explore that with entities here in the San Angelo area. I'm not sure what I'm going to find. I am concerned that we may not be able to find what we need, but if possible, that's what I'm looking for. If I'm able to be successful at that, then I'm going to press on and move forward with that, just simply because of the timeline. If we weren't pressed for time, if this wasn't the goal, then I would move forward with the normal process of an RFP or an RFQ.
What you just said, let's maybe develop that. One thing you just said, develop that a little further. I would encourage you to look locally.
Yes.
For those services, as long as they can meet the scope and the experience and whatever criteria that would make those professional services accomplish what needs to be accomplished. I would hope that we would vigorously strive to try to find somebody locally to do that first before we go outside.
Yes, sir.
I think that's good.
I don't see any problem with any of these for local services. We've used them all for our site development, including the rail layout, so we have plenty of capable people here locally.
So I'll get together with Director Anderson, yes.
Yeah.
I just noticed that your nameplates are switched.
I'm Anderson today.
So you're Tony now. All right, further comment?
So we need-
I'll make a motion that we authorize Roland as our executive director to negotiate professional services to accomplish this project of AEP quality site certification.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second for approval for Roland to proceed. Any further board comment? Any public comment? All right, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have presentation of the Downtown San Angelo Incorporated fourth quarter report. We have Ms. Brenda Gunner and Mr. Del Velasquez. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Just wanted to give you a quick update. And by the way, before I start that, I want to make sure that due credit is given to all the people that are involved with this, and that is Michael Looney with the Economic Development at the Chamber, Roland Benya with the Development Corporation, Patrick Howard with the City of. We're all involved in these projects that I'm about to talk about, or actually I'm just going to mention that right now, because of all the activity that's taking place in San Angelo as a whole, downtown San Angelo has been also a critical, or a focal point, I should say, a focal point for development and investment that is unprecedented since I've been in San Angelo. We have 4 buildings, significant historical buildings, and I'm not going to go through them because they're still under contract, but these buildings are ones that we've looked at for many, many years that have been empty or underutilized, that are under contract to be developed into a variety of potential condos or apartments as well as office space. So I'm just elated to announce, to talk about that. Just a quick update, the Roosevelt Hotel, I'm meeting with the folks that purchased that property later this afternoon to start looking at construction dates and renovation of that property. I wish I could share more information about that right now, but obviously it's under contract, so don't want to go there yet, but just wanted to let you know that the interest level is high, and I appreciate the partnerships that COSA DC, the city, the chamber have provided in including us in that process, since that's our focus point, and working with city council as well. So just wanted to put that out there.
I think you have a packet from us, so we'll start with reviewing the local sales tax information. The city of San Angelo in second quarter had a 12.5% increase, which was about $780,000. If you take a look at our central business district, which is the district from East Harris to South Randolph, Concho River, and South Magdalene, the central business district had a negative 5.2% increase, or $5,473 decrease. If you look at our Main Street district, we had a 9.18% increase, or an almost $30,000 pickup in sales tax. The quarterly mixed beverage tax report, the city of San Angelo picked up 18.7%. The central business district had a negative 2.3%. And the Main Street district had a negative 7.7% decrease. If you combine the quarterly retail and mixed beverage taxes, you would see that the city of San Angelo had a 13.16% increase, where our central business district had a 3.4% decrease, and our Main Street district had a 21.5% decrease. We talk through these numbers because one of the issues, obviously, is to talk about the health of the overall downtown area and what is happening in the downtown area. Certainly one of the greatest things that we know that happens in San Angelo is that when something big and new happens, it drives a lot of people away from one area into another area, and we can certainly point to Juan over here and say that he's had a great negative impact on our downtown area. Thank you.
I knew that was coming at some point.
Just building up to that. But we appreciate what you've done, and we certainly are anxious to anniversary your opening so that perhaps those numbers downtown will start to reverse into a different direction. So
prosperity for everyone.
You got it. We believe in that as well. Again, to Dale's comments, we have had more interest in a lot of the very buildings that have been empty for many, many years in the downtown area, to the point that many people thought that they would never see a new face or a new life. And we believe strongly that within the next 6 months we'll be able to announce some very aggressive, progressive projects, and they will help change the face of downtown once again. We have gone through a period of the past year where there's been really little change if you look at the number of new businesses in the downtown area. So we really look forward to the last half of 2014 and all of 2015 for some dynamic change, including the Roosevelt Hotel. We feel strongly that businesses have started to see more traffic in the downtown area, partially because there have been more hotels that have been built, and the occupancies and the dollar per room rates have decreased, which has brought a lot more foot traffic into the downtown area, and those rates and occupancies have had a very negative impact on the foot traffic in the downtown area. So we're excited to see all the new hotels open. I was told 2 days ago that the Pearl of the Concho, which is on Rio Concho Drive, which is next to, which has long been boarded up and in bad repair, will actually, hopefully, cross your fingers, open in the middle of December. They think worst case scenario will be the middle of January. And I think that, again, will have a nice dynamic change on the downtown area. They've hired a girl who's been a hotel manager in San Angelo for quite a while. She's quite enthusiastic about working with downtown, as well as the Clarion Inn and the Convention Center, to really relook at how we bring trolleys or additional foot traffic into the downtown area. So we're excited for the opening of that hotel. Again, a project that I think many of us thought was never going to have a new face and a new place and renovation in San Angelo. You have included in your packet, I think our time is up, but one more minute. So the projects that have had reinvestment this past quarter were the Concho Lodge at $8,900 for brick, ledge, front, and return on sides, which really has had a nice new look added to it. The repair of a remodeled storage space at 01, $7,500. San Angelo ISD, $177,000 to reinforce columns and update sprinkler system. The 117 South Chadburn Street, 119 South Chadburn Street have had renovations, and I will talk a little bit about some of the things that have happened in real estate in downtown, because what we have seen occur in the past 24 months really is a lot of turnover in terms of ownership. Because many of these buildings were valued or priced at a lower value, many people have seen them as real estate investments. So there's been a huge turnover in people buying and reselling with not really either improving and or opening businesses in these buildings. So that real estate market continues to turn a lot and hasn't really produced a lot of new businesses. So that is something that we have seen as perhaps a negative trend for helping us develop more businesses downtown. The First Presbyterian Church, $150,000 for a kitchen remodel. The City of San Angelo, $600 to put in a bearing wall. $200,000 to the Episcopal Church, $200,000 at the Episcopal Church, and then $70,000 property sale. This 116 South Chadburn is one of them that I'm talking about. There are 3 buildings that were included in this $510,000, so it wasn't just this building, but I think in the past 5 years, this building has changed hands 3 or 4 times, and yet to been a dollar spent on redoing any of it. So people are still seeing great value in real estate property and not really looking at reinvesting in terms of a business in the downtown area. So that's, again, something that we want to work on and help change the dynamics of that. If you take a look at the total reinvestment in downtown San Angelo over the past quarter, we had an additional $1.2 million, bringing our total reinvestment since 2005 up to $82 million, almost $83 million. Questions?
Questions?
Comments?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Appreciate the update. All right, our next item is the presentation of the 2014 fourth quarter report by the Chamber of Commerce Economic Development. Mr. Looney's with us.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Board. It's been, as we've come through first full quarter, my first tenure here, last quarter I was kind of jumped in the middle of it, but it's been a busy quarter, very, very productive. Kind of go through in your packet. I'm trying to be as brief as possible, which Phil challenged me to today. So we're going to see if we can actually do that. Kind of just to skim the treetops, we've initiated programs with 8 local companies that are either here or they're national companies with a smaller presence here, and they want to expand into larger facilities, or they're in the process of doing some very aggressive hiring. That links up also to our BREP program. We have several outside prospective employers that we're talking to as well. Glad to say a number of them are not just hotels. We have a number of companies we're working with a commercial real estate development company that's looking at one of the buildings that Dell was talking about, which we can't talk about, but that would be a office building. Adaptive reuse of an existing structure. We're also talking to an international manufacturing call center that is based in the northern part of the United States that could bring a potential 75 to 100 jobs to the city. And also, really probably most exciting, the largest thing that our office is working on, and again, I want to reiterate, just like what Dell said, in conjunction with Roland Pena's office and his staff, and with Del Velasquez and his staff, it's all a collaborative effort. We're presently working with a national rail port that's looking for up to 500 acres in the San Angelo area, and Roland and I have been tag teaming that, and at last discussion that's looking very, very positive, and that would yield approximately 75, possibly 85 new jobs. Kind of skipping over some of the nitty-gritty details, and if you have any questions about these, you want to talk about it in the Q&A, or if you want to talk about it offline, I'd be more than happy to give you a lot more detail. But kind of going through to our strategic plan update, You'll notice in your packet that we hosted Mac Thornberry, Congressman, and took tours of Goodfellow Air Force Base, ASU's Center for Security Studies. Phil handled some of the driving duties on that. And then also on the Texas Pacifico side of things, construction on the rail bridge is expected to begin second quarter of 2015. Phil, was there anything else you wanted to add? Nothing else? Okay, very good. If I've got 1 minute and 50 seconds left, are there any thoughts or questions?
One question, Michael.
Certainly, sir.
I'm on whatever, it's on the active, I guess it's the third page back, active transactions.
Yes, sir.
BREP program there, Chamber Board gave approval for $5,000 ingress, egress. Is that just a one-time, or is that total? That's the max they'll do on?
No, that's just a one-time.
Okay.
And we did that to a local employer that is a legacy company. And they were extraordinarily appreciative of that. It probably, frankly, was more symbolic, but it made such a psychologically positive impact that it really also showed the, if you will, the other side of the BREP program, that it isn't necessarily a transaction-making effort, but sometimes even if it's just a thank you, essentially a psychological boost, makes a huge difference.
I guess, imagine what it would have been if it had been 10,000.
Even better.
Just food for thought.
Other questions or comments?
Anything else, everybody? Very
All right.
good.
Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate it. All right, next item, presentation of possible action to apply for the Texas Workforce Commission High Demand Job Training Program, providing the necessary allocation for the program and for the purpose of partnering with the Concho Valley Workforce Solutions and other economic development partners. Have Mr. Roland Pena and Mike Buck.
It's been a great meeting today. I think all of our items have touched on partnerships, and I want to reiterate that as well. We're having just a very good year, a good 9 months. It's every item that you've heard today, everything from the City Council Advisory Board meeting to, even though Charlotte was not here at Ports to Plains, the annual conference, that we're having a very good year. I am thoroughly enjoying the partnerships and especially the results that we're having.
Must be the new director.
Well, I think it's the environment. So with that, this is another opportunity for us. You've seen some of the articles that I've been providing for you with regard to the Texas Economic Development Council. And you saw the press release that there was an announcement. So you received the article way in advance of this item. We felt we needed to take advantage of this opportunity. This is a Texas Workforce Commission program, and they announced a $1 million program to support collaborations with workforce solution partners and boards and economic development corporations. It is targeted at high demand job training initiatives. These are occupations that are in high demand during the current market. They will help to create occupational and job training programs to improve skill sets for jobs in high demand occupations. Other uses that are available are for equipment and minor renovation of facilities related to job training. Today, staff is asking for an allocation. We think it'll be a good complement to our current BREP efforts. We want to explore the potential projects and the potential partners. So while we're in the talking stages right now, we want to develop what those projects are going to look like. This is a 2-year program, so we have time, but I felt like if we can go ahead and make that allocation, reserve that allocation specifically for this grant, we'll apply. It is competitive. We don't know if we're guaranteed to receive an award, but at least this will get us started in terms of creating a committee to help us start working on what we want to pursue. We did have some input early on as we were developing the BREP that there are some needs for our existing employers with regard to perhaps relocation or job training, and that's something we'd like to explore. I think this just helps us spread our dollars to go even further. I'm going to invite Mike Buck up here to see if he wants to add anything to this.
Thanks, Roland. Hit that pretty good. I've been working with TWC the last couple weeks trying to get more details, but what you have in front of you is basically their answers back to me. It is a collaboration effort trying to get economic development folks to start collaborating a little bit more with the workforce development side of the house. We don't have that problem here, but so I see this as an opportunity to get more bang for the buck, so to speak. The only catch that I see right now is the funds that EDC contributes to the program has to be directly related to high demand skills training. But I have the option with the funds that I match to do a lot of different things. And so that's how we're going to partner together. Roland and I have talked several times. This is not just going to be between us two or the economic development folks. It's also, we're going to try to get some type of buy-in from the businesses that we work with so that we get a firmer commitment. And all in all, I see it as a way to really improve our stature among the businesses and what we can bring to them, and especially the BREP program. So I'm really excited about this. One thing I want to correct what that Roland mentioned is that it's a $1 million program. There are 28 boards out there, and if you do the math, that doesn't add up to $1 million. It's actually a 2-year program, about $500,000 each year, and it's a first-come, first-served program. So I don't want to wait 6-9 months to try for this first year to get the $75,000 if we can make it work. I'd like to try to get something a little quicker and be one of the first boards in next year. I got 2 opportunities to get up to $150,000 and love to use it here. Y'all have any questions for me?
So what's required from us? Are we talking about a financial commitment? What are we?
My recommendation is the board's desire for an allocation that we can reserve specifically to apply, and we'll have it available to match in the event that we get the grant. But if we don't, then we'll just move it back toward future projects.
All right. I need a motion.
Roland, what I see here is they're requiring us to invest $75,000 a year. Is that correct? That's a matching fund. I guess it will be equally matched.
Up to $75,000, and it's not per year. It would be.
We have this last 2 years, so we $75,000 each year is what we have the opportunity for.
So if we're successful, yeah, then I follow your question. If we're successful, yeah, it could be $75,000 each year.
And what you're asking for, we're going to have to develop a board here to identify what the jobs are, job descriptions would be that we need to train for, correct? Or do we already know that?
We already have a good idea. We've got the high demand job listing, and we've been talking. It's fairly obvious. You want to pick between nurses, welders, truck drivers, electricians, plumbers, those type of things. We would be looking at this as it came up. And this doesn't have to be one grant. We can do 5,000 here, 15,000 there. We can spread it out. And I would recommend that we take the first opportunity, get what we can, and then concentrate on building up the grant or getting the matching funds as we go through the year.
So, Director Anderson, so to add to your question, the answer to your question, we'll need to create a small group committee. Obviously, we always involve our partners so that we can move forward to determine what we want to apply for. It may be multiple projects. I think it's going to blend very well with our BREP efforts, and you're going to hear more when Bob steps up here. But I think it's just another way to help leverage our dollars.
And there's no real guarantee at this point in time that we would get this grant, but we need to pursue it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And if between you and me, if this doesn't work, I have other avenues I might be able to partially fulfill some of the needs also.
Right.
So it won't be a done deal if we just can't get a grant, but it's just a way of maximizing the monies we have available.
Do I understand correctly that if we had our matching funds in place, it might look good on the grant application?
I believe that's stated in there, yeah.
Yes, it will have to be in place, yeah.
All right. Other questions? Any motions?
I will make the motion that we go ahead and set aside the $75,000 for this year.
Okay.
With contingency for next year, in the hopes that we do in fact get the grant and see good fruit from the program. As well, whatever subcommittee needs to be developed, we just put all that in motion.
Okay.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further board comment? Any public comment? All right. Do not see any. I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. All right. Next item, presentation and update by staff regarding the City of San Angelo Development Corporation Business Retention and Expansion COSA DC BREP Program. Mr. Bob Schneeman.
Thank you. As the board is aware, this program has been an ongoing effort, and it has been one that I think the board's been very interested in, and as well as a lot of the local businesses and city council. So what we're going to present today is the draft of a marketing plan for the Business Retention and Expansion program. The board has and council have both approved the concept of the plan, the policies that we put in place, and also a set of incentives that are available to existing companies. And probably the most important element there is that we have gotten council approval that these incentives, provided they fall within the defined policy guidelines, are able to be administratively approved by staff, so we can move forward with them in a fairly time-efficient manner. I'd like to go through very quickly the long-range goals of the BREP program were to increase the competitiveness of the local businesses, to encourage job creation and new business development, to establish and implement strategic actions for local economic development, and to create a stronger and more viable local economy. In order to do that, of course, we established the BREP program, and then as far as the marketing portion of that, our first goal is to demonstrate and provide community support for local businesses, and we have a certain number of action steps there, basically to identify the NAICS eligible companies in San Angelo using a list provided by the Workforce Board. And we've been combing over that list. A lot of companies have NAICS codes that, although the NAICS code is eligible, the nature of the business is not. And a good example of that is a cake bakery has a NAICS code that is actually a manufacturing NAICS code, but if all they do are to sell cakes locally in a retail market, then they would not be eligible under the definition. So we're going through now and weeding that out, and we've got about 300 companies that, at least on the surface, appear to be eligible for this program. So the next thing is to finalize the screening of all the NAICS codes against the actual business activities and compile a listing of specifically eligible companies, and we plan to have that done by the end of this month. Second goal, training of all economic development partners regarding Section 501 and 505 of the Local Government Code as far as the use of half-cent sales tax. This is kind of a sort of an internal training effort that we want to do with all our economic development partners to make sure that as they interface with potential clients for the program, that they understand there are certain limitations on what COSA DC can do with half-cent sales tax. Now, that doesn't mean we can't help a company that doesn't qualify. That just means that we can't provide them half-cent sales tax incentives. There are lots of other incentives out there through the other partners, the Small Business Development Center, for example, Workforce Development, Howard College. There are things that we can do for companies that don't qualify for half-cent sales tax. So we want to keep that in the mix, but we want all the partners to understand what our limitations are. And we plan on having that done by about the 5th of November. build relationships and improve communication with existing businesses. We were thinking of doing a mail out to eligible companies. We may do that in the form of we may do it in the form of a mail out, but as Roland and I have been talking about it, we're thinking that the person-to-person visits may be a better way to go with that. So we may do some cold calling and setting up appointments and going out, and then we will develop a questionnaire, a survey kind of thing, but we'll fill it out on site so that we take back with us some good information on what the company's plans are, how many jobs they're going to create, what their interest is in the program, and then you also explain to them the capabilities that are available. One of the things we'd like to do in the way of getting the word out is to do a series of articles in the Standard Times, one by our staff to explain the program overall, and then perhaps each partner to do a specific article covering their portion of the BREP program, so that people who read that understand what the program is, and it also gives us some publicity there. It gets the word out that we are trying to work with local companies and encourage them to contact us. We'd like to have those done by October of next year. Goal number 4, identify and address urgent business needs and concerns. The action there is to conduct a survey of eligible companies, create survey questionnaire, and mail out. Again, we're not looking at the mail out as being maybe as effective as we originally thought. We're thinking that we may try that and see what kind of response we get, but follow that up with site visits, and we would have the questionnaires available there to fill out. Again, by November of 2015, to be through with that. Retain existing businesses and jobs where there is a risk of job loss. We feel like, and that item is a function of identifying those companies where there may be some significant a possibility of job loss due to competitiveness of, for example, the oil and gas industry pulling employees away. If there's a potential there for job losses, then we want to try to identify those companies and maybe do a separate effort with those to address their needs specifically and assemble different team members maybe to deal with that. It may, we may start out with a team of, for example, Roland and I visiting with the company, but that team may become someone from Howard College, someone from Workforce, and we'll assemble a team specific for that company to address their specific needs. Categorize and prioritize areas of interest. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Again, that's geared more towards at-risk companies, I think, at this point. Set priorities based on potential job loss, and then develop a list of companies to visit and set the schedule. Those steps are not necessarily in the order of priority, but because I think as we've talked, we've decided that those person-to-person visits are going to be more and more important. And I think one of the things that we've decided there from past experiences that we don't want that to be an overwhelming experience for the companies. We want to keep that to a sort of 1 or 2 person team that goes in and talks with them to avoid that sort of, we're from the government, we're here to help you. We don't want to overwhelm folks, but we do want to get the word out, and we want to be able to have an intelligent one-on-one or one-to-one discussion on what the needs are and can we help them, and then put together a package that we think will work for them. So, and then the final step, I'm going to skip through here a few and we'll get to the end of it. The final step, progress reporting and program effectiveness. I think we're looking at reporting to the board monthly, not necessarily in the form of a presentation to the board, but perhaps something in the packet that goes out to say, here's where we are with the program. Quarterly reports formal reports to both the board and to City Council on how the program is progressing. And then at the end of the year to revisit the program and evaluate the effectiveness, what's working, what's not working, what do we need to change, and again, get board input on that. We've also developed a client evaluation form that we'd ask the clients to fill out if they're participating in the program. It kind of just says, how many jobs did you create, how much money did you invest, that sort of thing, and we would tabulate those results and have something that's in an annual report form to say that this is the effect that the program had over the past year. That's been my 5 minutes or better, I guess. So I'll entertain questions from the board and recommendations in particular.
I think in all these activities, all these action steps, do these only pertain to businesses in the right NICS codes and only to primary jobs, or does this pertain to other businesses outside of those areas?
I would like to say that we would apply this to all businesses. I think we're going to concentrate on the eligible NAICS codes. However, if someone, if an existing business identifies themselves as being interested in the program and they are not eligible for the half-cent sales tax, that doesn't mean that there aren't economic development partners that can't help them. And I don't think we want to discourage that. I think we want to put those folks together with the right partners so that we feel like we're responsible for all economic development, or we're interested in all economic development, not just the eligible NAICS codes. So it's just that we would not be able to use half-cent sales tax.
Yeah, that's a commendable effort.
Bob, I think it would be probably helpful for the board, but also when you're talking to council, just made a couple of notes here, some sort of matrix designed that we could see, and this would be for those that do qualify for incentives from the Development Corporation, some way that we can measure the return on investment, show the increase in the capital value or capital investment, increase in Tom Green County Appraisal District values from if there's anything done to real property from where it was before we made our offered our incentive, and then obviously the number of primary jobs created. I think be able to just say, here it is, here's where it was when we started, and then we track that, accumulate that over time to say, here's the return on what we've done. I think that will be a good thing to show the public what's being done with.
And that's in fact a part of that last step. That what we'd like to do is be able to show those results and show a return on investment. Good. And also evaluate it and tweak it as necessary.
Yep, great.
Bob, I'd just like to say that I'm excited. I think this is great. This is something that this board has needed for a long time. It's basically the #1 goal that the funds were set up for originally, and it'll benefit the local community, local businesses, and education has really been lacking the last several years. This is a way of educating the entire community as to what we're here for. So,
well, staff, I think I can speak for all staff when I say that we're excited about getting it kicked off.
Congratulations to the staff and all the input of the board members here that have been working on this, and I appreciate this deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Further comments? The other comment I'd like to make on the mail-outs that you were suggesting, I think it's a good investment when we're able to educate our small businesses of what's available to them. I know as a small business owner, when I receive something that I can see that it's going to benefit what we're trying to do and get our customers engaged, I'm always looking for those opportunities. So I'm sure that small businesses, and the quickest and best way is to reach out through a mail out, then follow up with with calling. That's been my experience, and that's been very effective.
Two other things I think that and I didn't mention them here, but our city website, our city Facebook page, for example, has a very, very large following, and so I think we'll try to link this to that Facebook page. Obviously, this is also going to go on the Development Corporation website, and another item we'll be bringing to you in the future is that we'd like to be updating that site, and this would be a big part of that. And the policy is on the website now on the homepage.
Great job.
All right. Further comment? Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Our next item is we have an executive session. We do have executive session. Executive session under provision of Government Code Title V, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open, Section 551.0712, to consult with an attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney government body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct, State Bar of Texas, clearly conflicts with this chapter, Section 551.072, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, or lease, or value of real property, and Section 551.0872, to discuss an offer of financial or other incentive to company or companies with whom the City of San Angelo Development Corporation is conducting economic development negotiations, and which the City of San Angelo Development Corporation seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in San Angelo. It is 10:20, about a 5-minute break before we begin session. All right, it is 11:15, and we are back into regular session. Coming out of executive session, we do have one item that consideration of possible action regarding this. Consideration of authorizing the negotiation and execution of a real estate sales contract for sale of approximately 8 acres of land of Block 1, Section 1, San Angelo Gateway Edition, the San Angelo Business Industrial Park, to 42 LLC at a price of $25,000 per acre. The exact location, meets and bounds description, access points to public right-of-way and perimeter of such property is to be agreed by the parties and surveyed on the ground. Contract to be in substantially the same form as the attached real estate sales contract with such changes, insertions, and omissions as may be approved by the Costa DC Board President after consultation with the City Attorney and recommendation that City Council approve the contract. I do need a motion.
So moved.
I will second Tommy's motion.
I've got a motion by Mr. Hebert, a second by Mr. Barrio. Have any board comments? Any public comments? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board announcements. We do have one. I can't read exactly what it says. Oh, there it is. As was stated by Mr. Dane earlier, we are losing the, I don't know if you want to call, I don't know what you want to call it.
The brains.
The brains of the operation is definitely, that's a good way to put it.
It's a concerted effort, let's put it that way.
But I do want to tell you, we appreciate you so much. You're just, I don't know what we're going to do I don't know what the city's going to do to replace you, because you are such a phenomenal person, and you know the ins and outs, I think, of everything that goes on in this city as far as I'm concerned. So,
well, as I said yesterday, with the assistance and the support of council, staff, without that teamwork approach, I wouldn't be here either. So it's all a teamwork, it's a concerted effort. You, yourself, the board members, helped me along this path as well.
well,
So thank you.
We appreciate everything you're doing. I believe you're going to Buda. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Buda.
Buda is getting a heck of a good asset. That's for sure. So, but we do wish you well on your future endeavors, and thank you for your service.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, further announcements. Future agenda items. We'll come back on the, hold on.
Ports to Plains.
Well, yeah, Ports to Plains, that item will have to come back, is that correct?
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. Well, it'll come back. I do have a reminder in terms of an announcement. The MedHab press conference today for that special announcement, and if you can be there and make that event, that's at 4 o'clock.
Yes, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock on Beauregard.
Blinking it.
And then we are in the early voting. There is a Proposition 1 that I think is important to economic development. So if you have an opportunity to exercise your privilege to vote, whatever your conscience, but that is an important item.
My wife and I cast our secret ballots at 8 o'clock this morning.
I have copies of them.
Okay, future announcement, or future board agenda items. Juan, we appreciate you being a member of our group today. You said a whole lot, so I'm gonna have to get you on the timer a little bit, but it'll be okay.
I'm just learning. All right, what you guys are all about.
Well, we're glad you're with us. We're glad you're with us. All right, well, I need the best motion of the day then, if there's nothing
I
else.
will make the motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank y'all.
Beach, Tommy.